Welcome to Turn Writing Fear Around podcast. Simple methods to overcome fear and start writing again. I'm Elise Hittinger, and I'm the host for your Journey to Courage. This is episode 19, Mental Ride Preparation Tips. I'm going to talk about three things today. The first one is understanding mental prep, why it's important, who cares. The second one is the whole mental package and why you can't just do the preparation for just getting on the horse. And the third one is create your own mental prep process. So let's dive in. Understanding mental prep. It took me a long time to realize that my fear was something that I could overcome. And it took me a long time to realize that my fear was something in my head. I'd made it up. It wasn't something that was in the room with me that was going to get me. It wasn't something that the horse was out to get me every time I rode. When I'd get on my horses, they loved to go for a ride. They didn't want me to be afraid. The accident happened. And so I had to find a way to prepare myself mentally. And the first thing I want to talk about along those lines is that you don't have to take your fear with you riding. You can leave it behind. And I kind of look at it, Warwick Schiller says this really well. It's kind of like playing a video game where you start over at the beginning and you go as far as you can go, and then you go back to the beginning and start over again. And the reason this is mentally so critical is because if you're walking out the door and you think, all right, I'm shedding my fear into the house or into my car, I'm not taking it with me. And you take 5 or 6 steps and you think, oh my gosh, I was just getting fearful again. You can reset. Go back to the car, go back to the door, reset. Just think of it as an actual reset. And then think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have the best ride ever. And you can carry on your way. And then when you get to the point where you're thinking, what if, you can turn around and go start over again. And each time the goal is to get further and further along. So understand that mental preparation is so important before you ever get to riding, before you ever get to your horses. And even while you're grooming, practice mentally being a good rider. Practice mentally being courageous. Practice it while you're walking around the house. Practice being courageous. And it's so much fun to look at mental prep as a game. How much better can you get each time you go with your horse? Each time you're there with your horse, can you be a little bit better than the last time? The second thing I want to talk about is the whole mental package. And that is, you want to make sure that when you're getting on your horse, you're prepared for anything that might happen. What are you going to do if your horse bucks? What are you going to do if your horse bolts? What are you going to do if your horse rears? Whatever your trigger points are, mentally prepare for what you are going to do. There's so much confidence in being mentally prepared. You know, here I am doing a podcast, and this is a great example. I was terrified to do my first podcast, and I'm on episode 19. And what if I make a mistake? What if I don't remember what I'm going to talk about? What if, you know, the good old what if bus. Well, I mentally prepared. Okay, so what if I forget? Well, I'll just wing it for a few minutes. Well, it's the same thing with writing. We want to make sure we're mentally prepared for the entire ride. What if my horse bolts? Well, I know how to do a one rein stop. I know how to do a pulley rein. I actually prefer the pulley rein to the one rein stop. Practice it a couple times. Know how to do it. Mentally prepare for the things you're afraid of. And if your horse rears, know how to handle that. Alicia Dickinson has a great video on what happens when a horse rears. and how you lean forward and you gently pull them to the side so that when they come down, they're off balance a little bit. You don't want to pull them over on you, but you want to make sure when they come down, they're off balance. And then you can decide to get off, or you can decide to get going if it was just a one-off incident. But be prepared, mentally prepare for what you think might come up. What happens if a deer crosses in front of you on the trail? What are you going to do? Are you going to keep focused ahead of you? Are you going to look at the deer and go, oh my gosh, there's a deer? What are you going to do? Prepare for the things that you think might happen. And then create your own mental prep process. It's different for everybody. I like thinking I'm the eye of the storm and the chaos all around me can swirl, but I can remain that calm eye of the storm and just see what's going on around me, evaluate what's going on around me, and make the adjustments I need to make. But it's different for everybody. So take a few minutes and create your own mental preparation process. What are you going to do when you get in the car? What are you going to do when you get out of the car at the barn? What are you going to do when you leave your house if your horses are at home? And use that. Don't just do it and then put it on the back shelf. Use that mental preparation process over and over until it becomes a habit. And once you're mentally prepared, you will have much less anxiety and fear, and you will feel so much better. If you've enjoyed these tips, I'd love to have you get my 6 steps to making better choices. One of the things I found was I was making excuses not to ride, and that led me to I was making a choice not to ride. And so I just created a quick little workbook on 6 steps to making better choices, and I'll put a link to it below. See you in the next episode.